Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a 3 vs 3 on Veselovo, and in this one I'm going to be playing with the 3rd Guards Tank Corps. And what that means is we're finally playing on the release build, huzzah! Thanks to Eugen, they gave me a copy of the game as well, so definitely going to be having plenty of Steel Division 2 content on the channel for the foreseeable future. On my team today, I'm joined by Ziskra and Fudmeister, who are using the 2nd Guards Tank Corps and the 26th Guards Rifles, and on the opposing side we have Sociopathic Pothead, Nicholas Frick and Jushgang, who are using the 1st Ski Jaeger, 116th Panzer and Gruppe Hartneck divisions. I'll just close the panel and we can go over my deployment here. I'll just highlight all of my units so you can see where they're going. So we've got basically some Razvedka, which are recon units on the right hand side. We've got some Ognjamachiki, just flamethrowers going into the light forest there. They're going to be followed up by these AT guns in the ZIS-42, and I've also got an AT gun deploying further back just to potentially kill any units that are rushing down the road. Now I did intend to bring these in jeeps as opposed to the ZIS-42s, but when I built the division I did it a little bit wrong. But that will be reflected in the Battlegroup code you can find in the description. Anyway, Gavardia are now moving up here. I've got some Razvedka joining in a similar position. I've got some Gavardia moving up onto the hill here, as well as some more Razvedka on the left-hand side. So plenty of recon at the start here, as you can see. 2 more AT guns joining that left-hand side, and I've also got a couple of AT guns near this town. So I've got one going into the light forest near the edge of the river. I've got one in the back garden of this house. I've got a Panzerschreck there, and an Avtomachiki, and the command there as well. So basically setting up extremely defensively in phase A. Decided to bring in the PE-2R recon aircraft. That does start to pin the Pak 40 that I find, and since we can see that, I decided to bring in a Yak-7B as well with its 20mm nose cannon that it can attack with and strafe ground targets as well. So come in, managed to get the kill there onto the Pak 40. Really nice kill at the start. And my recon aircraft certainly paying itself off. I see another Pak 40 on the left hand side. It's giving a little bit of trouble to Fudmeister, so in comes the PE-2 again for the strafing run and the Yak-7B. My opponent attempts to counteract my movements with a fighter, and so I bring in a second Yak-7B that is going to help me take on the Me-109E4. Fudmeister also brings in his Yak-9s, and that's going to be a very dead Me-109. So we've managed to take full control of the skies, and would you look at that, it's another Pak 40. So we're going to go ahead and start strafing that as well. Fudmeister comes in for his strafing runs. Going to leave it on relatively low health, which I think he might have ended up killing it there, but either way my Yak-7B comes in for the strafing run soon after. Meanwhile, on the right hand side, M2A1 just taking advantage of the recon information from the Razvedka, getting some shots onto the Jaeger Pioneer that are sat in the open. Now, since we can also see these mortars in the backside, I am going to be strafing them as well, doing plenty of damage, hopefully killing one off. But yeah, nothing really for me to do in the early game. I have Shermans, so I'm not really going to be pushing across the open with Shermans, especially against things like Tigers and Stugs. The divisions that I came up against were probably pretty bad for me in phase A, because I didn't build a single IS-2 into my phase A, which I guess is a mistake in some cases, but I would say in most cases, if you can get to phase B, you're a lot better off. Either way, we have a little bit of a breakthrough here from our opponent, so going to be coming in with my strafing runs onto the infantry that we can see with the PE-2R. My Yak-7 though, this one with the 12mm, you can see that it's only got 10 bullets left in its main gun, so as it comes in for the strafing run, it just gives a little spray onto the Sturm Ski Jaeger, and then I tell it to leave because it's completely out of ammunition. So the strafing runs have gone very well. Same with the PE-2R actually. This uses up the rest of its machine gun ammunition, so I decided to get that out of there as well. Now, in order to counteract the infantry movements here, I decided to bring in 2 Avtomachiki and a Sherman. Fudmeister bringing up some infantry as well. But Skira definitely under bit of pressure on the left hand side, he's got Nicholas Frick concentrating very heavily on his left flank, whilst having to also deal with sociopathic pothead on the right hand side. Meanwhile, my front's just completely quiet after the initial engagement, so I am going to be using my 120mm mortar to just hit these Aufkläder and the Jaeger Pioneer there. Surprised these Aufkläder were where they were, but just casually sitting on the water as you do. Avtomachiki have been unloaded now, just going to have them run into these buildings. I've got the other Avtomachiki using the cover of the hill here to stay out of the way of the Stug 3. And then I'm just going to be fast moving it up the road into the town as quickly as possible, whilst the engagement continues between the IS-1 and the Stug 3 there. On the left hand side, Nicholas Frick still making ground. This guy going to be strafing those Ersatztruppen though with the Yak 1B, which is nice. And check out this Sturmpanzer. It's the KV-2 everybody, but it's in the hands of the Germans. It does actually end up missing the T-34-76, gets the transmission damage. But meanwhile, you can see my M2A1s, they are going to be pinning down this unit of infantry here. I managed to make them surrender. Now I'm putting some pressure onto the Sturmskijäger here. Avtomachiki coming into range, going to just kill them off. And just basically taking back this ground, and Ziskra and Fudmeister have taken back this flag, so all good. Sherman's going to be taking a nice snapshot at the Stug 3, takes that out, really good. We see a little bit of an air engagement here. Two Me-109s coming in, one from Nicholas Frick, one from Jushgang. My Yak 7B is going to be able to get on the back of that Me-109 and shoot it down. Easy peasy. So another air engagement won, and my recon aircraft got out alive, so that's really good. So the last Sturmskijäger have been overrun, and what I'm going to do now is actually reload my Avtomachiki onto the M2A1, because I saw that the front line just completely pushed forwards here after we annihilated the rest of the units in this area. So I'm going to have my Sherman move forwards. That's going to get to the edge of the ridge, and then I'm going to have these two half-tracks fast move down the road and try and put some pressure into the town here, potentially capturing this point just here. And the Opa Blitz is going to get killed before it unloads. We're going to continue to put more HE fire onto the Sturmskijäger. Just trying to prevent them from making too much ground into the town here. And since Ziskra on the left hand side is struggling a little bit against Nicholas Frick, I bring in a small amount of Shermans. I've got 3 Shermans there and a command Sherman to follow them up. And with the command nearby, that's going to make all of my Shermans 2-star veterancy, which will help me deal with all of the Panzer 3s that are here. However, do need to be a little bit careful about the Panzer A's that Nicholas Frick is also using. Meanwhile, Avtomachiki have been unloaded onto this flag, and at close range they are exceptionally good. 50 cal is going to manage to take out that half-track, basically killing the unit inside with the side shots from the 50 cal. Absolutely rakes the side of these armoured cars. And well, there's another kill from my Sherman that's sitting across the way, and the other squad is unloaded. So both the half-tracks taken care of nice and easy, and now the infantry just being pinned down. This Pack 40 on the Panzerjäger RSO does manage to kill the half-track there. Just forcing back that command unit, and I'm going to just drive up to it here with the M2A1 whilst my Avtomachiki stay in position. So nice smoke here on the road, and we're going to start moving up into the light forest on the left hand side so that we can basically dictate the range engagement. If you see as you move forwards, the range gets longer or shorter, so I can dictate at which range I want the Shermans to engage. And that's the intention there. Since I did see the Panthers, I thought that 4 Shermans is not going to be enough, so I did bring in an extra 3 to accompany Ziskra's Sherman's going to be forced back by artillery, and my right side still quiet as ever. I was really worried about a push from a couple of Tigers in the early game, but there is Vodmeister's ISU 152 on the hill, so that could have maybe held back the enemy for a little while. But if there was like a concentrated push here, I don't think I really would have been able to do too much. Regardless, I've got my Yak 7Bs coming in on the left hand side. We're going to be strafing the Panther A to panic that a little bit. Also get some shots onto some infantry with the recon aircraft. Since there is a bunch of AA on this side, however, though, I don't want my Yak 7s to be flying around in that, so we're just going to let them get out of there. My Shermans are getting ready to push on. Nice surrenders here from Ziskra. Manages to get rid of a lot of infantry from Nicholas Frick. Great job there. My Avtomachiki still holding as Budmeister comes to back me up. All of my units currently just chilling here. Although Budmeister's putting quite a lot of decent pressure towards this crossroads. It's currently 12 to 12 since we have lost this sector on the left hand side, the objective there, and the front line is slowly pushing over this objective here, which is going to make it 13 to 11. There's some Sturmskijäger coming up onto the Gvardia. I think ideally I should have had my Avtomachiki move to the right hand side and jump into those buildings, but I don't think I saw this happening when it did. The Gvardia had managed to do quite a decent amount of damage regardless, and now my Avtomachiki just going to try and engage all of these Sturmjäger. And they have MP44s, so they're actually pretty decent. So I'm going to try and house hop as much as I can to basically avoid these Reitjäger from shooting me whilst I engage the Sturmskijäger, but they're still really, really good units at close range, so they do manage to get rid of my Avtomachiki in the end. But meanwhile, on the left-hand side, you can see that we have started to move forwards a little bit, and I do manage to take out a couple of the Panzer IIIs without revealing myself to the Panthers, which are a little bit further back. There's plenty of smoke coming down here, which actually helps us out quite a bit. Especially Ziskra and his T-3485s that want to get as close as possible to these Panthers in order to penetrate them. They do have 180mm of penetration with their APCR. So that's what they'll be looking to use. I moved back the ones on the left-hand side that were in line of sight of the Panther. And I need to make sure that my command Sherman here continues up. But secret weapon is in the back line, the IS-2 1944. It's going to be driving up and joining these tanks in the smoke. I'll tell you what, when units are firing and there's fire inside the smoke, it does look incredibly cool. Look at that. Gorgeous game. IS-2 arrives. The Panther A is already bailed out, but my shot from the IS-2 instantly pins the Panther A Führer, and now we just have to run them down. A massive concentration of forces here that could be bombed or artied. It is currently being artied. My IS-2 shrugging a lot of that off though, so still have a lot of firepower. We also decided to bring in an IS-2 1944 on the right hand side to just try and push a little bit over here and basically put some pressure on the other side of the map. Moving my Sherman round in the middle and continuing the engagement on this left hand side where we end up killing off both of those Panthers, and the Shermans are going to continue forwards, chewing up the Ersatztruppen. The Resvedka happily firing away as well with their SVTs and providing us with the recon information, so all good. And we're managing to make back a little bit of ground, even though it's currently 14 to 10, but taking back these 2 points will take it back to 12 to 12. Now we have a couple of challenges ahead, the first one being the Panther G. This does have 250mm APCR shells, so I'm trying to keep the IS-2 out of line of sight of the Panther G for the time being, whilst I engage the Jagdpanzer up on the hill to the right. Because last thing I want to happen is this IS-2 to be side shot. It does only have 110mm of side armor as opposed to the 180mm of frontal armor. So getting rid of the Jagdpanzer on the flank is pretty important, otherwise my tanks are going to die just like this T-3485. I managed to make it fall back there, but struggling to hit. The accuracy, the base accuracy is pretty low. Meanwhile, on the right hand side, ME410 comes in with its 50mm AP gun and kills off my IS-2 on the right hand side. So just like I did in this replay, I completely forgot about my IS-2 here, left it out in the open. ME410 takes advantage. Nice move by Jushgang. I do have my Yak-7Bs come in just to prevent that from coming in for another strike onto any of my other units. And immediately I bring in a couple more AA, and I also purchase the IS-2. We are in phase B, so I'm getting the 180 points per minute, so I can afford quite a lot, and that was like 2 minutes of income there. Just purchased that AA and the IS to go with it. So continuing the push on the left hand side, the Sherman's just providing cover against the Panzer IIIs here as the T-34-85s to continue to push up. My IS-2 almost out of AP ammunition, but as you can see, an ME410 coming in again. Going to go for the shot onto the T-34-85. Doesn't manage to find the kill. Does cause criticals, I think. My PE-2 forced to go back after it takes a lot of AA fire, but gives us a little bit of recon information on what's going on briefly. Bring over my Yak-7Bs. The first one kind of gets caught out by the AA quite severely, so I'm going to have to force that back, and the other one I manually tell to leave the airspace there so that it doesn't get hit by the AA as well, and then I continue to have pressure against the ME410, or at least that was the theory. Meanwhile, on the right hand side, Kavardi are now engaging the right Jaeger. The right Jaeger with their MP44s are decent at 300 meter range, but we have 2 machine guns, so beyond the 300 meter range we are king, and we are winning out because of that. ME410 does come in for another run, and as my Yak-7B goes for the shoot down onto the ME410, it actually gets shot down itself by the AA, so that wasn't really a very good trade for me, so I'm going to have to be forced to bring in another one. Otherwise this ME410 can just fly around all day long and kill our tanks on this ridge. So here we come, trying to get those shots on target. Do quite a lot of damage, but as you can see, the AA becomes just too much. The ME410 outturning the Yak-7B, so I can't get enough time on target, and it manages to get away with that for now. So, forced to bring in another Yak-7B, and this is pretty much all of my fighters purchased for the entire game at this point. My IS-2, completely useless on this left hand side at the moment, is currently reversing to join my supply truck here so that I can give it some more AP shells, which is pretty important. Meanwhile, the ME410 coming in for more runs onto my tanks, and the Yak-7B again failing to find the kill there, so I have to bring in one that I already had. Do manage to get the weapon jam as my Yak-7B gets shot down over enemy AA, and these ME410s, I tell you what, they were really resilient against these Yak-7Bs, but this time around I've got 3 Yak-7Bs, and this second ME410 was just playing with fire, and fire it's going to get as the Yak-7Bs come in for those final shots, and job well done. So that's 2 ME410s down, and they're quite expensive aircraft, so I was quite happy with that. My IL-2 here previously dropped a bunch of bombs onto this infantry just to help us get rid of it, allow me to push the M2A1 up in front of them. My 45mm is actually doing a nice job taking out the VK901s, and my IS-2 has finally arrived, so that's going to go ahead and pop that VK901 on the left hand side. Got the couple Dushkas following me up, and then the 37mm as well, so if any aircraft come in similar to the ME410s, then I should be okay. So I've just got this M2A1 rushing up. There's no AT on these infantry squads, so quite happily going to surrender them both as my Gavardia continue their push forwards. So I managed to get away with 2 tanks, and out of the, I think, 7 Shermans I bought, only 1 survived, so there's that. But the IS-2 is still there, and that's mega important because I need that in order to kill off things like the Panther G. The 200mm of penetration, more than enough to get through their front armour. But I am also now focusing on my right side push, and my opponent here, Jushgang, decides to bring in the HE-111 with the 250 kilogram bomb payload. He's planning to, I assume, stun my IS-2, but my Yaks are ready for it this time, Not going to let any more of my IS-2s die to aircraft. And alongside the 37mm AA, well, that bomber goes down nice and easy. So going to just continue to move that up, get it into line of sight of the Stoke 3. Meanwhile, my Cavadia with the PTRD takes out the AA that was here, the flak 20mm on the back of the half track there. But we have just gone into phase C, so I am going to be losing the awesome income I had in phase B. But I can still afford an IS-2 at this point, and this IS-2 happily on the field is just going to continuously bounce shots from the 165mm of penetration on the Tiger E's. So this is where the extra armor really can come in handy. Like at maximum range, the 165mm of penetration does fall off against the 160mm of penetration on the front, sorry, of this Command IS-2, because this is a 9043 variant. But against a 1944 variant, you have 180mm of penetration. So these Tigers pretty much have no penetration against your tanks at maximum range. I really want to take care of these Hustle Rocks, so just going to be strafing them completely with my Yak 7Bs, and with those coming in for the strafing run, they're in prime position to take down the HE 111 once again, and goodbye to another bomber. Almost crashes him into my Dushka, but not quite. Anyway, my IS-2 here has run out of ammunition on its AP shells, so I'm forced to bring in a supply truck to resupply that, but another IS-2 is on the way, and in the meantime I'm just going to strafe that Tiger to prevent it from moving forwards aggressively. Now Dushka going to be coming in with all of his ME-109 G6s. He's sick of my Yak 7Bs doing their work, but one of my Yak 7Bs there with the Aerolon damage manages to shoot down an enemy aircraft. It gets shot down by opposing AA, and I'm just going to make a run for it because I see that these ME-109s aren't really in the correct positions to take on these aircraft, so I'm happily just going to make a run for it. This ME-109E4 does manage to get some decent shots onto my PE, but because it has quite a lot of resilience, it was absolutely fine. And then all of my AA is now opening up onto the ME-109 G6 on the right hand side here, and we're actually going to end up shooting that down. So I managed to get another fighter there due to him chasing, and we also take out the ME-109E4 on the left hand side. I believe that was with this 37mm, so both of those fighters going down in the end. My IS-2 here has been smoked off for the time being. Sherman just sitting alongside that happily, just covering this left hand side. My Avtomachiki holding on to this location. If anything comes into 100 meter range of those Avtos, they're just going to get wrecked. So quite decent to have those squads in position there. Right, to accompany these IS-2s, I have brought in a couple of the M4 Shermans, and these are going to start dealing with the Hustle Rock for us. They do have 50 cows, so they can mow them down. The IS-2s also have a decent amount of HE damage, like 3 damage on their HE shells, so they're able to definitely chunk those squads as well. So I'm letting this 1944 get the job done there. This IS-2 commodity does get shooter knocked, but is still happy bouncing shots off the front of those. And the Tiger, yeah, just really struggling to do anything. I've also, of course, got the supply here now, so we've pretty much got unlimited AP, as long as I manage this correctly. And I think with the IS-2s, the main thing that catches people out is mismanagement. So as long as you manage them properly, keep their front facing, you should be fine. Now the crew killed modifier there is currently being fixed up by the supply vehicle, and therefore the Tiger does come back in action. But I've got 2 IS-2s firing at it now. The other one's going to be falling back in this smoke to resupply with the supply truck. I think at this range, my IS-2s had about a 30-40% chance of actually hitting the Tiger E, which is barely anything, honestly. And that's the main thing that lets the IS-2s down alongside their low ammo count. But I have the Sherman there for the lighter targets, although that Opal Blitz getting absolutely wrecked by a shot from the— Meanwhile on the left hand side, my IS-2s move forwards a little bit. to try and counteract some of this armour that's pushing against it, but the sheer amount of tanks here is a little bit of a problem for the IS-2, so that's going to be forced to fall back as the majority of shots will just bounce off the front. That's 180mm of armour after all. Most of these tanks only have 135mm of penetration. Tiger's still alive. It's going to load a wound my Sherman, but my IS-2 is now moving back up again. I did intend to get a commander in here sooner, but I kept forgetting to actually buy it. Because it would have been nice for these IS-2s to be giving extra command to all of these units that they are around. Especially considering they're very difficult to kill. Anyway, more aircraft coming in on the left-hand side. I actually used most of those yaks to strafe these poor Ersatztruppen. You can see there's only one man surviving after all that. My IS-2 on the left-hand side still falling back from the abundance of shots coming in there. Unfortunately, my IS-2 that I used to bomb did get shot down by the Me-109 G6 here, but Fudmeister going to make him pay with the Yak-9s. And on the right, well, the IS-2s continue, and with their HE shells, these Grenadiers really aren't getting anywhere. A couple more Tigers on the field. We'll make that 3 more Tigers, but we have 3 IS-2s. And as we continue to kill these Tigers slowly but surely, it does give us a bigger and bigger advantage unless Jushkan can find a way to kill them, which currently he can't do because he needs something like a Panther. So ideally, maybe Nicholas Frick could loan him a Panther G that might get the job done, or he could try and set up like side shots by having, for example, this be a Tiger and move it up onto the hill so that he can find side shots into these IS-2s from range, because basically engaging the IS-2s at range from multiple angles I think is probably the best way to take care of them, because their innate inaccuracy means that the Tigers should have a massive advantage at range. You see they have like an extra 10% accuracy at max range compared to the IS-2s. So if you have Tigers coming in from this direction, you have Tigers coming in from this hill, then you might be able to find a side shot, or better still, Panthers, or even APCR shots from something like a PaK-40. That could be another way of doing things. But you can see I do have a little bit of a Gavardia push coming across here, and that's supported by an IS-2 that's kind of just sat up on this hill. Meanwhile on the right hand side, still strafing things. We do see the rocket strikes coming in there, and that's going to kill my supply truck. Sad times. IS-2 currently engaging the Hasarok. This Hasarok actually doing quite a lot of damage to my Gavardia, but the Gavardia fighting back with their own machine guns, so not too bad. Meanwhile on the right hand side, IS-2 is still moving up, and you can see I'm keeping the supply even closer now. This is a little bit greedy of me, but at this point it's very unlikely that I'm going to get bombed on this side, because I have the 2 37mm that are close by, as well as the 2 Dushkas, they're still up. And furthermore, I still have 3 fighters, so if a bomber comes my way, or a unit that has AP in the sky, like an Me-410, then I can deal with that. So I'm happy to have like this further up, so that it can just continue to resupply, and anything that is in range of these IS-2s is firing at the IS-2s, not the Studebaker, so there we go. This IS-2 now getting shots onto the Tiger on the left hand side, and I've got 4 IS-2s here now, so 2 IS-2 1944s and 2 IS-2 1943s, which have command. Over on the left hand side, unfortunately, my IS-2 shows side armor and gets itself killed. The Saparis here, they're going to be unloaded from these M2A1s and push themselves into this tree line. Still absolutely annihilating the tanks on the right hand side. Jushkang decides to bring up a few Jagdpanzers, and, well, they're going to get absolutely annihilated. Now these would have been nice to use if they were used from the flanks, Again, maybe if they had a couple of them here and then a couple over here with this Tiger, then things might have been a little bit different. But they just get absolutely annihilated. 3 down already, 4th one's waiting to die. And you might have seen the IS-2 1944 pop up the kill here. This IS-2 on the hill ended up getting bombed, and as it fell back it showed side armor, and the Stug 3 I think potentially got the kill there. So that was unfortunate. I don't really have enough AA covering this IS-2, so I do end up having to pay for that. Regardless, still got the 4 IS-2 push coming up on the right hand side, and just waiting for shots to actually hit the Tiger E. One bouncing off the front there, that Tiger getting very, very lucky. And yeah, as you can see, HE-111 coming in. I've already brought the Ac-7Bs in, and so we're going for the attack onto that bomber. And down it goes. Easy peasy. I've got this Sherman fixed up after it got loader wounded. That's now leading the charge against the IS-2s, and one of our opponents has now surrendered, with Fudmeister getting the better of sociopathic Pothead. He leaves the game, and over on the left hand side we are starting to deal quite well with Nicholas Frick. He's lost a lot of his pushing power because he's now in phase C, just like I am. But with mine, I've managed to keep a lot of my IS-2s alive, whereas I think at this point Nicholas Frick had lost quite a lot of his Panthers. Whereas if he'd continued to build them up, he would have reached like critical mass by this point and been able to absolutely crush that side. But of course, myself and Fudmeister both reinforce Siskra on the left at the start, and so we've been keeping an eye on that, and I think just like great teamwork on our end did manage to sort of help us win the game, because at this point it's 15-9, currently 7 minutes and 17 seconds until our opponent's defeat. So the IS-2 here engaging a Panzer IIIN. You would not want to be in that Panzer III, I'll tell you that much. Even the Sherman can capture that, and well, with that dying and us pushing the front line forwards, we capture the Opel Blitz munition. I didn't want to destroy the Opel Blitz munition because I can actually use that to resupply the AP shells as these guys continue forwards, and what that allows me to do is have this supply truck exclusive to 2 of the IS-2s, which are covering the left hand side, whilst 2 of them continue up the main road. So we now have 2-star IS-2 1944s, and that is due to me finally bringing up the command motorcycle here, which you can barely see because of the lines there, but there you go. That's our little commander, providing us with the buffs to our leader units. So yeah, no chance really for the Tigers to hit the front armor of the 180mm armor. Just positioning of these Tigers was a little bit off. Like I like the fact that he had Tigers over here, but you can definitely micro through these buildings very well into the back gardens and find the side shots onto the IS-2s that are pushing more aggressively. But I think at this point it's just over because I have 4 of them and they're in positions where they're kind of covering each other's flanks. So yeah, and there's nothing he can do about bombing them or attacking them from the sky because I've got the Ac-7Bs and the AA. Basically covering all our bases as we continue to push up here. Managed to take out the bailed out Tiger E. And I've just got this tank coming over to take shots onto the Tiger that's falling back. Going to be resupplying that with the Studbecker. I think I send back the Opel Blitz munition to these 2 on the left hand side. That one currently has shots directly onto the 80mm mortar. So, Sapri have taken control of the left side forest once again. I've got a couple more Sapri coming up here just to help us secure these trees, even though for the most part we already have it under control. My Sherman, that gets killed. Gets shot from the left side from this Tiger. And there you go, you can see me moving the trucks around. Could have just left the Opel Blitz where it was actually, but ended up moving the Studbecker there instead. And well, with that, Nicholas Frick's going to surrender. Chushkang's gone as well. And That is victory after 34 minutes and 20 seconds. We finished the game 16-24. I managed to take those two objectives on the right hand side with that IS-2 push, which was really, really nice. Pushing on the edge of the map there does mean that I'm not having to deal with my right flank, which is really good in those sorts of situations where you have a very strong tank. So that was really nice and it worked very well for us. If we jump over to the team scores, well, I did manage to get 4,910 kills to 1,880 losses, definitely chewing up a lot of tigers there. Ziskra struggling a little bit, but with the help, we did manage to hold back that left-hand side against a very aggressive Nicholas Frick. Fudmeister also doing very well with his KD. On the opposing side, Sociopathic Boy Ed not doing too well, unfortunately, and same with Jushkang. I think, again, just positioning of the Tigers and potentially AT guns would have definitely had, or made it a lot harder for me to push forwards. It wouldn't necessarily have dealt with the IS-2s because I would have probably consolidated my IS-2s a bit better, or maybe not have been so aggressive with them. But at the end of the day, it's all about slowing that kind of push down and trying to pick off units where you can with ambushes, as opposed to just dealing with them from, like, head on. Like, those Tigers are never going to penetrate the front of an IS-2, so it's like it's kind of pointless continuing to try. Anyway, in terms of kills in the early game, the Yak-7Bs did fantastically. Killing off 3 Pak-40s at the start was really, really nice with those strafing runs. Using the recon aircraft and taking control of the skies with Fudmeister was really, really good. Then this Yak-7 claiming 3 air kills, the MU-109G6 and 2 HE-111s, also strafed the 80mm mortar to death, so that's paying itself off so much. Then this 45mm AT gun, again, 2 Stug kills. That's just 140 points worth of tanks for like a 30-point AT gun. So really, really nice. The Sherman there killing a Stug pays itself off. This one killing off all of these units more or less pays itself off. This one killing a Panzer III again pays itself off. And IS-2 comes in, takes up Mobilwagen and the Panther G there. Very, very nice. Also killed the Pak-40, which would have struggled to penetrate the front armor. That's before it inevitably died on the left-hand side, which was sad. Let me see, this Yak-7B claimed both of the ME-410 kills. This IS-2 Komroti getting a Tiger E and the Jagdpanzer, but as we continue to scroll down, we'll get to the actual MVP of this battle, this IS-2 OBR 1944 Koshelev, with his 3 Tiger kills, actually make that 5 Tiger kills, 2 Hetzers, 3 Panzer IIIs, or 2 Panzer IIIs. Very, very nice indeed. This IS-2 Komroti also picking up a bunch of kills there. So the IS-2s doing work, and yeah, once that ball gets rolling, it's very, very hard to stop. That's what I found with that division for sure. Especially considering I didn't have the best early game. I think we weren't under any pressure at all from Jushkang. We just kind of sat there on the defensive on the right hand side, which is exactly what I wanted to do, and he kind of played into that, I think, almost accidentally. So there we go. And I thought I'd be get caught out by the fact I had all of my Panzerschrecks and AT guns in Zis-42s as well, which would have allowed them to maybe get the jump on me with Jeeps, but I managed to get away with that as well. So there was a few mistakes in there. I just don't think they were exploited and therefore didn't really show throughout the game. But either way, really, really enjoyed it, and hopefully you guys did too. That's all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.